Swiggity sorty, let's get that booty.
What's up, everybody? Another episode, another one. Let's go, let's go. All right, this ought to be what, episode 16 of the podcast. It's the Slim Cogcast. This is your boy Slim Cognito, aka Mr. Unfortunately I'm Black. And let me tell you something. This week, I've tried to see how I could really structure the podcast while still speaking about everything. But there's some stuff happened with the PlayStation 5 event this week. And in order to recap it may take the entire podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get that out of the way first. And then we're going to see how much time we have left over. And then I'll see if we can get into the anime. So I'm going to put the anime review at the end if possible. If not, then I will make a separate video completely about Fire Force, so that way people will be able to, click. That's what I may do. I'll just keep people up on my progress on the anime, and then I just might make a separate video on my opinions of the anime. Which something I should probably stop doing, because I have several side video projects that are increasing my workload, and being the sole editor, it is something. And these hour-long podcasts, I've had more free time this past week than I have out of any podcast episode, because this past week's podcast episode was a little easier to create. It was easier to render, and it just took less time. But that freed up time to do other things, because like I said, I am also working on other projects, and I'm getting used to this DSLR camera. I was one cable away from doing a live stream with a face cam. So I'm working on that as well, for a little surprise to let you guys know, to spoil the surprise. Not only am I working on face cam, okay, but I'm also working on building this PC so that we can have better production on the videos. We can have higher quality streams, PC game streams, to increase our library and possibilities, and also just better overall. Because my setup right now, to let anybody know, if you follow me on Twitter over on Slim Cognito mode, that's my Twitter handle. Recently I posted a picture of my setup, and most people, you may not be able to tell from just the content itself and the quality that comes out, but the microphone and my preamp are the two most high quality pieces of hardware, give or take the PlayStation 4. But the PlayStation 4 is literally the game console and my capture card for right now. So with that said, from the process of pulling the clips from the PlayStation, editing it all together, and then exporting the video as well as the audio, it's a bit of a, it's not a hard process, so to speak. It's just the fact that my whole setup is such a ghetto, just get it done type thing. Like, if it works type of philosophy, that you wouldn't be able to tell unless you saw how I did it. Because my laptop that I'm editing on, it's like about 40 to 45% of the screen real estate is completely gone. I'm working with half of a laptop screen, and at times I will plug it up to the TV, but that would sometimes hinder me because I might need to multitask, cutting clips, down with the PlayStation connected to the TV and whatnot. So it takes a bit, but all in all, these things will be fixed in about, hopefully today. The PlayStation, the power supply unit is supposed to arrive today. So let's hope that UPS is correct in its tracking, and I will hopefully start building. And that's another project that I hope to do for you guys, is I might do a before and after video and build it, or and whatnot. And the cable for the DSLR won't come until another 3 or 4 days or something, like a week. So that cable for my camera won't be here in time to do it just by live streaming. And I would probably want to do it as a video anyway, because I want to, do the whole spiel, that everybody likes to see. The bass drop of some nice EDM music with some B-roll shots before and after, fancy transitions and whatnot. So we're gonna go the whole 9 yards for this, since this is it's been like a 10-year dream to build a PC. I've been PC gaming for years and years, but I've never built my own system. So this is the first time, and I want to commemorate it with something special. Also, I'm also heavy at work on Okage, the Shadow King, which I'll share my thoughts with it right now, real quick, and then we're gonna jump into the PlayStation 5 event. And basically my whole thing thus far, I'm on chapter 5. And this game, if it's anything that's the weirdest about it, aside from the characters being weird and the art style being weird, the weirdest thing about it thus far is the pacing. Like, it's very strange. The dungeons, I appreciate the dungeons. I've done 5 dungeons now and defeated 5 evil kings. And the thing about the evil kings in the dungeons is each dungeon was designed to not last too long, to not overstay their welcome, and that's something I really appreciate. Which is another thing I am. By the way, this is gonna be my first video game review when I finish this game, so keep that in mind as well, audience. This game's pacing is very weird because it has great pacing in the dungeons. Like, I would go into a dungeon and think it's gonna last way too long. The first one was reasonably so. I think it was like 1 or 2 floors, and then the boss fight. The second one, I think it was about 2 floors. No, it was 3 floors, and then the boss fight. So, it got reasonable, progression with that. But then the next dungeon was like, okay, this one's going to be tricky and a bunch of hidden, unseen, false walls that you could walk through and whatnot. But then they said, we're only going to do 2 floors, just to be fair. And I was like, I respect that. Okay, that makes sense, because it was such a maze on the first floor that you just kept navigating. Then there's another hidden wall, and there's a hidden wall behind another hidden wall. And I was like, gotcha. And I was elated to find out that there were only 2 floors. And I was like, they actually thought if the dungeons would overstay their welcome or not, and tuned it accordingly. The next dungeon, it was like, what was it? After him, it was, the chick. Basically just made it simple enough. They just said, hey, go on in. And there's a bit of a maze on the first floor, and you do so pretty much the same as the last one, kind of. It's maze-like, but with no false walls. And you go on ahead after the first floor, boss fight. And I'm like, only 1 floor. Makes sense. And I was actually happy about that, too, because that first floor was hell. Because and the reason I call it hell is because one of the things I hate most that anybody would hate in RPGs, especially turn-based RPGs, the encounter rate in this game can be insane, especially if you run from the encounter rate increases if you run from a battle. And there's some fights that come along where you have to run from. Like, it's literally tuned that way in the battle system. I've seen a few opinions on the battle system, and I will admit they have a bit of a point. And the usual consensus of the game is that it has great story, great characters. But you should play it solely for that, because the combat is a little wonky. It's a little, it's got some jank to it, which I would agree so far. I'm about, my characters are just shy of level 40. And so I assume, if we were to assume that an hour and a half per level, I'm about a good, say, 50 hours in, so to speak. Yeah. So I could see what they mean. But I want to disregard those opinions so I can form my own for the review. Moving from that though, it's getting more and more interesting story-wise because something huge just happened after defeating the 5th Evil King. So here we go. I mean, not defeating the 5th Evil King, excuse me, doing the 5th dungeon, which is technically the first dungeon revisited. So yeah, more or less it's pretty decent, and I'm actually super interested. There's some weird stuff going on, and I don't want to allude to too much. Anywho's, let's jump right in because we're already coming up on 12 minutes, and I don't want to make the podcast too long. I really apologize to my anime fans. Let's see. Starting from the top, let's ease into how this event came about. Now, first and foremost, this event was supposed to happen like last week or so. But once the Black Lives Matter movement started, Sony decided that they wanted to let other more important voices be heard, which is true. Because the Sony PlayStation event, whether it's Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, whoever they are, these press conferences are they're not exactly for the consumer. They became more consumer friendly over the years, but these conferences have never been directly for the consumer. They were basically for shareholders, investors, and business partners. But it turns out that there was a bit of a sweet spot in the Venn diagram for all of these demographics, including the consumers, when you generate hype around game releases, consoles, etc. And so the lines got blurred, and now it's just been a perpetual, never-ending how to appeal to the masses who want to see the product succeed in general. Now, because of this, there's been, a back and forwards of good examples of how to do presentations, how to do E3, how to do conferences, etc., and how not to do it. There's been some terrible, terrible, terrible examples. But over the years, some people literally come to the content for the cringe, Sometimes the cringe is exactly the entire, how can I say... Sometimes the cringe is the entire reason for the entertainment. Because anybody who could look back and remember in E3, there were many times of cringe when it came to Ubisoft. I was about to say Ubisoft. Man, Ubisoft used to make the most janky presentations. That Just Dance, oh man. Oh, especially when the Connect came out, dude. Let me tell you, Just Dance is one of those games I never personally played. Actually, I don't think I've ever played Just Dance. I'd be willing to give it a chance, because I don't want to, pass judgment on it without playing it. But it's abundantly clear that it is for a certain type of audience, not necessarily just the casuals, but a certain type of audience. I can see why people enjoy it because I was on the Rock Band craze. Rock Band was awesome. Guitar Hero, etc. So being a fan of those in the past, I can understand. I should probably try out that new Rock Band, Guitar Hero that came out recently, actually. What was that, like 3 years ago? It's actually pretty intense. I don't know. If I could play Steely Dan, do it again, I'd be happy. But anyway, yeah, back on topic, man. These press conferences, they're always interesting, and you're looking to see what's gonna happen, what's not gonna happen. And I think we've reached an entirely new level of acceptance for them. We almost thanks to COVID-19, because with these online digital events and streaming it, you could just do pre-recorded footage, make the people comfortable, have the presentations, get a good feel for them, and just go. Because let's not forget, some could argue that these press conferences are for, seeing if these people who represent their brand are confident in it. So how would they present it on stage, and are they confident enough to present it? It's like, oh, okay, then cool. That's one argument that you can make, but all in all, because of that, they just started hiring representatives to present it for them who are way too charismatic and good with camera. Freaking Todd Howard is the perfect example. This guy could sell you a used knife from a murder scene, and you would think it's the next accessory for your outfit. And you believe him. He's just that good of a salesman. He has too much charisma. He's way too good on camera, from physical appearance to his demeanor, his stature, his charisma. That's the whole thing when it comes to sales. It's the same thing. The very things that people could learn by being attractive in the dating scene is the very same things that are successful as being a salesman. You're endearing and easy to talk to and approachable. It's one of the reasons why marketing with women who do makeup is completely lucrative. Pokimane makes stacks, stacks and stacks and stacks per month off makeup. James Charles off makeup. Dude, that's why makeup is a business that can never die, because everybody's afraid of being ugly. So, but back on topic, Todd Howard, you got these celebrity invites for dance numbers and whatnot, all these things from past E3s. You get more money pumped into the presentation rather than showing the games. And that was the postmodern apocalyptic era that we were reaching with E3. It was past the prime and just doing the basic necessary to appeal to the audience, rather than doing the true necessary, which is show the games and give the people what they're asking for or hoping for. So here we are in an era where these live events, thanks to Nintendo and kicking it off with the Nintendo Directs and the tree houses, they know what they're doing. Okay. And now everybody's following suit, and it works way better. Microsoft is still lagging behind. They don't really get how it works, but I said all that to say this. This conference is the best conference that Sony has had in its entire career. The only one that came close was probably 2016, 2017 E3 for Sony, when they just showcased SpiderMan and Resident Evil 7 and just back to back to back, nothing but games. It was well paced. Give us a trailer, in-game gameplay trailers, etc. Just keep going and going and going. Don't stop. That was amazing, and it was perfect. Hopefully they can keep this alive, and because eventually, who knows? They might have to go back to doing live shows at press conference. One of the things about another thing about this COVID is that a lot of jobs are changing and shifting, because they're realizing that a lot of people can do their jobs at home over the internet, and with internet, speeds increasing incrementally every year or so, it's bound to be a mainstay and a staple in the way a lot of systems work in the future, Though one of the things that may suffer for it might be online education, because as coming from a place of poverty, I will straight up tell you, not everybody can afford to have internet. So unless internet services are more accessible and much cheaper and internet is more of a staple than a phone. Okay, I haven't paid a cell phone bill in more than 2 years, because not really. You have Messenger, you have all these other ways that we're connected. There can't be much of a use in dialing a person's phone number these days, aside from the novelty. And I think that's probably the next technology that's either going to be phased out or eventually going to be hurt, like cable TV is hurting now. Because communication and entertainment have gone the way of evolution. It's just a fact. And it's a shame too, because so much technology and money goes into erecting, cell phone towers and etc. But hey, that's how it is. But there's more than one use for cell phone towers rather than just phone calls. So there's some future in it. Hopefully some money to be made off of so they can profit from it. Anywho, let's dive in without the ramblings of a technophile. The PlayStation 5 is here, people. It's here. Finally. It's here. And it's going to drop fourth quarter this holiday of 2020. And the games that they've showcased, let's go ahead and showcase the entire show. Now, one of my personally, I want to roast them a little bit. Like, why the hell y'all gonna start off the show with a GTA? You go show Rockstar. You show the Rockstar logo, immediate hype. I'm like, what? The GTA 6, man? Because I don't know what they're gonna do with 6. Like, I would love to see them go back to Miami and and do Vice City again. You know what I mean? And just GTA 6. But at the same time, though, I think they ought to touch on the 1930s and 40s. The 1940s is that era, bro. That's that era where heroin was everywhere. It was afros. We was on the cusp of segregation and whatnot, and slavery. Like, we literally still in the middle of all the high tension racial shit, And they might be able to handle it better story-wise than Mafia 3, which it didn't handle it badly. It's just that, I don't know. I try not to judge open world games these days, especially when it's a sandbox city, modern day open worlds, because I can't be unbiased. I'm just burnt out. I've been doing GTA since 3. I've been doing open world since SpiderMan 2. It's so much the same. I hadn't had new life breathed into me for open world games since Saints Row came along, and they've been missing in my life for about 4 or 5 years. So it is what it is. But let's move forward. GTA 5 was announced first for the PlayStation 5. Why? Like, nah, don't make people buy that game again, y'all. Stop squeezing the life out of it. Like, damn. Like, clearly, if they port this, it better have better. It better have better textures. It should have better character models across the board. Okay, you have more VRAM in the graphics card of the PS5 than the 4. Like, ridiculously more so. You have more RAM and faster RAM at that. Because is the PlayStation 4 using DDR4? Most likely it is. I hope so. I think so. I can't recall. I should look into these things before I talk about them. But yeah, RAM speeds faster, okay? Better processor to handle AI and artifacts and character models on screen at once. Better everything. It should be able to run much, much better. Just as much as it had a good graphical update from the PS3 to the PS4, there should be a huge graphical leap in visuals and performance, actually, because that game does not take. It takes quite a bit to run. You need at least a 6 gigabyte VRAM graphics card, GDDR5, to run it at frame rates higher than 60 at all times on PC. So it's a demanding game, but I really think that the 5 should be more than enough. The PS4 was more than enough to run it, because it was originally geared, engineered, and coded for the PS3, and was it on 360? Yeah, PS3 and 360 hardware. So, and it didn't change much since. They should be able to handle this on the 5 and make this shit look better. Anywho, I spoke on this longer than I should have. It's the same fucking game. All right. I'm sorry, Rockstar. I love Rockstar. Don't get me twisted. I love Rockstar. But if y'all gonna shit on Call of Duty for releasing the same shit, okay, it's got to be fair across the board. All right, moving from there, we got Horizon Forbidden West. This is the new sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. Main character Aloy. Apparently, there is some new problems arising from the old plants and whatnot that used to plague the Earth on the first game, which is interesting enough. I would like to see what happens with that, but of course, you know, no one in their right mind would get a console brand new when it's just launched. So we'll get to that when we get there. But I am interested to see what happens. I've played the entire Horizon Zero Dawn and the DLC. A very interesting game overall. It was one of those open world games where I didn't mind playing because they gave you so much quality of life improvements and things that you didn't mind going from place to place. And they had fast travel, but it wasn't abusable fast travel. You had to have actual materials to fast travel. It fixed a lot of things about open world games that should have been present years ago, you know. So it was an enjoyable experience. Didn't mind it at all. Almost 100%, and was almost about to plat it, but I ended up moving to other games and I had trouble picking it back up. So well, not trouble picking it back up, but going back to it rather. But yeah, good experience overall. I give it a solid 8.5. 9 out of 10. Yeah, it looked nice, it sounded good story, interesting characters. Yeah, and Ashley Birch, you know, because Ashley Birch. So anywho, moving from there, one of the things I was the most hype about in the entire presentation was this Demon Souls remake. Now, for those who don't know, I am an avid fan of the Souls series and Miyazaki's works. Miyazaki-san revolutionized the game industry when it came to game difficulty by reminding people that it's okay for a game not to hold your hand and it's okay to explore, which are two big things that people take for granted out of the Nintendo games. And Nintendo had to make their games more and more casual, more explanatory, you know, dial it down for people and dilute it and make it easier, you know, on the entry level over the years, because people have been more and more of a casual audience that literally don't know the first thing about gaming, you know, so they wouldn't be used to the tropes that we're supposed to be used to by now. Most gaming expects you to at least be able to beat 5 stages in Mario, at least be able to point and shoot within about a second of a window in reaction time, and you're expected to know how to press buttons without looking at the controller. And these basic things, you know, often we take for granted, but there's a lot of people who just don't know how to do it. So Nintendo's gone the route of being way too casual lately and just hammering home tutorials in their games, which causes a slog in the early parts. But other than that, the usual Nintendo formula was always, yes, it's bright and colorful, but you still get your ass kicked. If you go back to any Metroid game, you have to come ready. So, you know, that's one thing that Nintendo has always had an edge over the Sony titles mostly. Every Sony title was like, let's take our time for the first hour or two of the game to show you what every button does and a cinematic flair, you know, and things like that for their first party titles. So there's a whole science to the tutorials of video games, because there's so many different ways that it's been tackled, and there's been some high highs and some low lows on how it was implemented in many games. So it's hard to say. Now, Demon Souls, however, and the Souls games, they are my favorites because of how it reminds me that back in the day you had nothing but trial and error, which is OP, because you can always try again. The thing about games that make them so appealing with the escapism is that no matter how many times you fail, you can try again. in life, people try to convince you that you only get one chance, but that's the thing. You oftentimes can try again at anything. You can always give it another go. But in real life, people try to convince you that this is not the case. Gaming taught me that anything can be tried more than once. We're humans. We make flaws, but we're able to learn. And that's what separates those who fail by design and those who succeed through perseverance, is people who are willing to learn from their past mistakes, or at least try their best to. Now, Demon Souls takes that entire philosophy that I just spoke about and implements it into its entire game design from the ground up. And I find that amazing. It was the first of its kind. It was the only of its kind. And I love Demon Souls, not only because of that, but also the grunge and grittiness of it. That back in the PS3 days, the way it was just designed, it was one of the best action RPGs I've ever witnessed in my life. And this is a guy who would die on a hill for losing a guy in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. So it's like, it hits a nerve, and I was so hyped for this because this is one of the games I'm just so passionate about. I can't wait to fight the Penetrator again. I can't wait to fight there's a lot of unique bosses in the game now that I think about it. I forget the name of that blade that you get in order to kill the boss, the big stingray boss in the sky. I don't know, but let's call it something cool like the Cloud Scraper. But yeah, or the Storm Ruler or some shit. But it was dope, man. Everything about that game. Ooh, I wonder if they're gonna redo the Dragon God boss fight, because it was kind of ass in the original, not gonna lie. But only by the sense of it was practical to say that there's no way that you could fight a dragon this big at your size with PS3 hardware. It was, practical, but they came up with what they came up with. But still, I want to know if they're going to bring that back. And the world tendency mechanic, which, although tedious, not going to lie, still was very unique for its time. Oh man, there's so many people. Oh, the Nexus. It looks like we're going to go back home, boys. We're going to go back home to the Nexus. So anyway, super hyped for that. Looks great. And another thing that I've been hyped for out of this entire event was SpiderMan Miles Morales. Of course, call me biased if you want, but Miles is the best Spider-Man. He's the best Spider-Man yet. Well-written character, super interesting, way more relatable to the modern day demographic of early 30s, 20s on down to the kids. He's way more relatable. Peter Parker literally only relates. Oh man, I'm gonna sound like an SJW, but I gotta tell the truth though. Can I tell the truth without being an SJW? Peter Parker literally is only relatable to me on his geeky nerd aspect, not getting girls and being too awkward, not smooth enough, and having unrequited love for the girl next door type of thing. That was super relatable. But everything else, nah. Like, nah. So, it that's why so many people love Into the Spider-Verse. Is way more relatable to the modern day people. There's more lines blurred with the younger generation when it comes to race than any other generation thus far. We're really tearing down that whole racial debate thing, as you can see daily. The younger generations are leading these fights against these fucking killings in blatant daylight, lynching in blatant daylight, but let's move on. Yeah, it's amazing, and Miles is just a great character overall. And let's speak about his character in specific about the game. in the original Spider-Man PS4, his character growth happened as you played the game. You literally train him on how to fight and teach him how to defend himself. You see him as this weak kid and this nerd, but he's got potential. You know, he's super smart and very, very good-hearted. And that's the whole point. That's what you want to see in your hero. Watching Peter grow, that was the most unrelatable to me. And his origin story was that he let a guy get robbed in front of him and he knew he was a hero. The fuck? I don't want to say he deserved for his uncle to die. I'll take that. I won't say that. But damn, I don't feel bad for him. It's like, dude, you watched this guy. Like, I understand he fucked you over with your money and whatnot, but I would have been the type of person just like, all right, I'm gonna stop the criminal, beat his ass, take the money, and only give you 10% of it back. You know? It's like, this is the hero fee. You know? Like, come on. And I would have done it anonymously too. I would have let the guy get just far enough outside the building, put my mask on, stop him, take the money from the guy, give him back a small ass cut with a note, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and move on with life. Like, damn, you don't feel a sense of heroics? What's wrong with you, dude? You know, that right there tells me that Peter was not, this reason he wasn't relatable to me on his personality level, because his choices made in the origin story. It's like, yo, that tells me you weren't a hero at heart. You weren't a good person from the start. You were just a petty child. It was more of Peter growing into becoming a man rather than becoming a hero. And he had to do both over several comic books and several TV series and several movies. And I was never really attuned to that. So watching Miles grow is way more organic. It's way more believable to me. It's like, you can't sit there and tell me you don't know what heroes are and what they do and what example they, carry, so nah, you knew better. He knew what to do. But let's not go too far with it. Miles' whole character in the game itself was piecemeal, it went piece by piece. And I know I'm on this subject a little bit long, but the rest of the stuff I won't have a whole lot to say on. But I'm just getting into the stuff that I'm super hyped about. And I want to see Miles' character fully realized. I still haven't played the DLC for it because I found the base game of Spider-Man PS4 this past year for like $12. And then they started putting the Game of the Year edition or whatever it was on sale all over the place for like 15, 20. And so I'm a little pissed about that, but whatever. And I don't want to buy the whole DLC for $15. Like, nah, fuck that. But I do want to, play the game and learn about Miles and watch him grow. Moving forward, though. Oh, and also another tidbit. There's been a lot of rumors going around saying that this was an expansion and it was just DLC. It's not DLC. They're not re-releasing the original PS4 Spider-Man game. This is a full standalone game with Miles Morales, complete with urban music. Okay, so chill. All right, that's not true. I'll put the article in the description so y'all can see that too. Even though it's Polygon and I don't like giving them clicks, but whatever. You can't really defeat a beast, so you might as well just move on and get yours. Gran Turismo 7. Gotta be honest. I haven't been interested in Gran Turismo since like, was it 2 on the PS2 or was it 5? I don't know, but at this point in my life, I don't give a fuck. Look nice though. All right, so and the reason I say is because racing games cannot be a great example of graphical fidelity and benchmarking, because everything that's going to be rendered in detail will be the cars only, and those aren't huge models that have to animate and change a lot. The most that has to move is the tires, and the only changes that happen is when you crash and the body of the car is, damaged in some sort. That's the most animation you're going to get. And that's not even fully animated at times. It's just going to pop in that texture change 9 times out of 10, depending on technology they're using. They might animated based off of its point of contact, etc. But it's not that important or impressive. And racing games have looked nice and very high quality since the PlayStation 2 and GameCube, because you don't have to render the environment around you. You could make the environment literal N64 polygons with barely any type of, lighting and add a blur effect, and you don't have to render the environment that much because it's gonna go by less than half a second. You don't have to look at it that heavy. So yeah, move on from there. Yeah, Resident Evil 8 though, hella hype for that shit, aka Village. They doing the Roman numeral thing again. And there's been articles, we reported on this in the past on a previous podcast, that it's going to be based off of the coronavirus, this new Resident Evil. And the fact that it's called Village, I believe they're going back to, I think it's going to have to do with the Los Ganados and the El Plaga, the Las Plagas, excuse me. They are going back to that as it might be some new rendition of a virus or something, who knows. But apparently, obviously, the main character is Ethan once again, and we're in first person. Now, here's the most genius thing that Capcom has done in the past half decade. They literally made the RE engine, and they made two Resident Evil. They made one main Resident Evil with it first, and then they did two Resident Evil remakes and Devil May Cry 5. And these games in between, in order to master using the engine. And now that they are masters of using the engine, they can maximize performance and graphical fidelity, and that game looks gorgeous while also having stronger hardware to play around with. Oh man, they knew exactly what they were doing. It's like, let's bide our time and just stack our bread off of our old games remade. And then we just wait for the 5 to drop. 5 drop, bam. Now we're just going to hit them with everything. We're going to hit them with everything and wait for the hard nipples. And boy, they got them, boy. They got 2 of them for me because I'm ready for this. This is great. So, hype for that. Oh, another tidbit. It seems like Chris will be joining in. So this might be the first time that Chris will be involved with the Las Plagas. Aside from, unless you count Resident Evil 5. With the Ouroboros, which was kind of a rendition of the Las Plagas. It was more of a organic type of virus, it seemed, that they played around with and mixed together, since Wesker got a hold of a sample of the Las Plagas virus at the end of 4. Everybody should know these things. But thanks to Ada, fucking Cocktease Wong, yeah, so hype for that, hella hype. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart looks good. Oh, shit. I forgot this tidbit. Yeah, the Chris in the trailer for 8 is completely different Chris from Resident Evil 7's ending. So clearly that was not the same Chris, and something's going on. So it looks like we're going to get some explanation in that, because there was a different umbrella. There was a different Chris. Everything was weird, but it's the same Ethan. So like, what the fuck? But we'll find out. Anywho, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart looks cool. Ratchet and Clank fan I am, and it was very great. Up Your Arsenal is probably my favorite. I've played Up Your Arsenal and Size Matters. Funny story, I tried to play Deadlocked. I did about maybe the first 5 or 6 hours of the game. Just for it to be a poorly used copy that was scratched up and would not load the next stage that I got from GameStop. And if anybody knows load screens in Ratchet and Clank, it's just spaceships flying through the air animation, flying through space. And that animation was on loop because the game would not load. It was a shame, but oh well. That's back during the days where you could get past loading screen hangups by ejecting the disc, wiping it down with a little alcohol, and then turning the disc at a 45-degree angle. I don't know if that shit works anymore. But anyway, Project Athia. It's kind of a meh. It's not really, I mean, it looks pretty, but that's it. I need a reason to give a fuck about it aside from it looks pretty. It's more of a tech demo than anything, probably. Pragmata, super interesting. Looks like some Kojima-esque storytelling type shit. You know, it looks like some Death Stranding 2.0 type shit. So interested. Hitman 3. You see how I'm blazing through these because they didn't show much. I can't say much. Like Pragmata only had just like a little girl with some type of weird optical abilities and shit. None of that shit makes sense. For some reason, it was linked to his suit and the bullet that he was firing out of his gun. Like none of that shit made sense. I don't understand none of that, so I'm not gonna comment on it. But it looks interesting though. Hitman 3, cool. I enjoyed all of the Hitman reboots. It's all fire. Just flames for no reason. The game is so good. I hadn't had fun with Hitman since this remake, since what was it? Contracts. No, Silent Assassin. I hadn't had this much fun with Hitman since Silent Assassin. When the remakes came along, I was enjoying that shit immensely. And 3 is welcomed, I'm sure, by everybody. People love it. Deathloop, super interesting concept, and I am willing to play it. Actually, I would like to play around with it because I like the art style. It's unique, visually appealing, and I want to know how they're gonna do this. Because they hadn't alluded to it, but I think there's gonna be some online head-to-head type shit, like an online interactive campaign game, which would be hella interesting and super unique, something new. We need some pioneering in these game designs, man. We need something unique to come along, and I like that idea from what it's implying. Stray was playing as a cat. They literally didn't show shit, just the environment and the cat, which looks pretty, but I don't know what the fuck is going on, so let's move on. Returnal, this one right here made me feel kind of iffy. They probably worked on this like for years because the character models look fucking weird. It's like her face is way too shiny, her skin is too reflective, and it looks way too moist, if you know what I mean. Like she just has a super moist face. It's weird, but all in all, hopefully it's interesting. Third person shooter playing as a Karen. I don't know. You know, I'm not really I don't have anything against women, I promise. But damn, this character is not interesting to me at all as a black male. You know, unless I find something about her that can be interesting, that shit looks boring. Okay. Third person shooters come dime a dozen, and I need to find out something interesting about this game before I give a fuck about it. The biggest thing about it is you have this woman, like, okay, say for instance, one of my favorite female characters, especially white female characters, the boss from Metal Gear Solid 3. Hella interesting, super unique, clear motives, motivated woman. But this here, I can't tell what the fuck this is. This looks like another run-of-the-mill middle-aged white woman playing some type of sci-fi from yesteryear that's being revived as a modern-day game to make money off of an IP, of an old IP. You know, a modern-day movie. Excuse me. It's like if it's. No, I'm not gonna compare it to Alien, but it just looks like another sci-fi movie turned into a fucking game, and I don't find interest in it yet. So, moving on. Sackboy, A Big Adventure. Little Big Planet fans, rejoice! It looks like Mario 3D World combined with Little Big Planet, and that's a very smart move. And if you can co-op up to 4 people and create your own adventures and whatnot, that's cool. 3D platformer, you know, very interesting, but not exactly my cup of tea. Maybe down the line, if there's friends like, you know, who would play some shit like that, then maybe future, but I wouldn't go out of my way to do so. I've tried the Little Big Planets and all right, I guess, you know, but they lose their luster. Those create your own games, the creative games, Minecraft and Little Big Planet don't really appeal to me. I like a more, you know, tailored experience that's made for, you know, upper echelon. I won't say upper echelon gaming because it sounds elitist, but I can't get any satisfaction with the gaming skill that I've accumulated over the years by playing a game that's made for general purpose, anything created on screen. You know, it's not the same vein of creation as Super Mario Maker, where people can literally throttle or increase the difficulty as much as they want based on what they create. You know, this is more, hey, sit back and have casual fun with friends. And that's not really my bag. I'm sorry, y'all. But it looks like it's faithful to what the people who would be fans of it, it looks like they would love it, and more power to you guys. And I hope y'all enjoy it, you know. Destruction All Stars, super cool looking art style and character designs. I find that very interesting. It looks like it might be a bit of Twisted Metal combined with some arena combat on foot. Don't exactly know what the gameplay entails by getting out of your vehicle and running on foot, but interesting to say the least. Kena, Bridge of Spirits, very beautiful game, very visually pleasing, and super interesting. Really more interesting than Horizon Zero Dawn, in my opinion, because Horizon, although is a great game, I feel is very overrated. Which is why I had trouble between giving it a 9 and an 8.5. Because, I mean, it's an open world game, and all you had to do was just make better decisions, learning from previous mistakes of open world games. And there's plenty of material to learn from. It wasn't that hard, you know, document wise to create. And everything else is just bow combat, you know? So, whatever. You know, but that's something that's super controversial because people would die for Aloy. Oh, simping for Aloy. But Kena looks way more interesting, way more vibrant, colorful wise. It looks like an actual video game, and I love that. It's more interesting to look at. If I'm playing a video game and it looks too much like real life, sometimes I just get fucking bored and be like, damn. It's like when watching CNN or fucking E-Span. Like, I'm just sitting here watching people walk around and talk, you know. So yeah. But unless it's, you know, there's exceptions to the rule where they blend fantasy with that realism graphical detail perfectly, aka Naughty Dog. So or Rockstar, you know, you gotta have an element of video gaminess. You can't make it too realistic. That's where you shoot yourself in the foot. Gotta find a balance. Moving on. Goodbye Volcano High. The story I could be interested in. Gameplay, maybe not much. I don't even know what the gameplay is, honestly, from looking at the trailer. It might be something akin to Life is Strange, which I do love. Huge fan of the series, but I don't know if this could hold a candle. This is more for the furries, which I don't say that to disown or, you know, alienate furries, because I am maybe about probably 15% furry. They're not bad people. They're pretty cool, chill community. Like any other community, there's some good, there's some bad, and the most unfair thing is they got some damn good artists and a lot of good art online. It's just not fucking fair. Like, better than majority of all fucking like facets. They just got the best art floating out there. So hey, you know, I support y'all first. Do y'all thing. Oddworld Soulstorm. This right here is gonna knock some pants off for a lot of people. I got a personal favorite reviewer right now, Matthew Matoses, who is gonna be super interested in this here. Like, this is gonna blow his mind. Which is something I need to make another commentary about video game reviewers and that whole dynamic thing of drama. But anywho's, Oddworld Soulstorm looks super interesting, very faithful to those who are fans of the series, and I saw some character growth in the trailers where he cuts the sutures from his mouth so that he can speak again, which used to be, he used to have some type of powers with his speech, I think, in the first game or the first or second. I don't recall. But I do know that the fans are very niche and cult-like, but they love it to death and they support it healthily. So hopefully they will run out and get a PS5 and support this title as well. which is smart for Sony. Put some money into the stuff that you know people still love and long for. You know, you have Nintendo's been making money off nostalgia, and y'all just forgot that y'all got IPs that work. Fucking Crash Team Racing, bang busters. Crash Insane Trilogy sold like fucking hot cakes and a half. Like y'all need to learn, bro. Y'all finally starting to get it in 2016. It took them this fucking long to learn. Damn. And there's some stuff they still ain't brought back. They ain't learned yet. So, hey. By the way, that Ratchet and Clank trailer, one of those futures that he traveled through, it looked like Jak and Daxter's world. I don't want to be the type to draw up that hype. But my nigga. Yo. Alright, but anyway. Ghostwire Tokyo by the man of the hour, one of my favorites from Capcom's heyday, was Shinji Mikami. Shinji Mikami himself, Mikami-san, revealed his new, surprisingly first-person shooter, Ghostwire Tokyo. It was supposed to be a supernatural, otherworldly first-person shooter. And this is surprising because Japan don't do first-person shooters. Japan don't do first-person nothing. Hardly. Like, unless you count fucking, what's the game with the bitches and the ghosts and the camera? I don't recall. Fuck it. See, I'm tired. So why am I drawing a blank on this stuff? But yeah, moving on because we're getting pressed for time. Super Brothers presented JETT: The Far Shore. Can't really say I care, but okay. Godfall was gameplay was finally released, which is a trailer, a cinematic trailer we saw last year, I think it was. And interesting gameplay combat, you know, very cool looking. The most gameplay looking game that we've seen so far. Solar Ash looking pretty beautiful by the same people who did Hyperlight Drifter. Totally down for that. From what it looked like when they were moving along before the title screen came up in the trailer, it looked like they were skating along the geometry, and you hopefully you had to use, hopefully the gameplay is as using the geometry to try to keep momentum and keep skating forward and keep up speed, and that would be cool. So yeah, looks dope. And Astro Playroom was revealed, but not really my thing. If it's some people's thing, cool. Let's move on. Little Devil Inside, very interesting, unique looking game that I am definitely down for. Apparently, the backstory for this is this was a Kickstarter game that failed to meet its goal, but Sony and whoever backed this game showed interest in the game and decided to fund it. So that's dope. NBA 2K21. Let's get the jokes out. Ha ha ha. Shouldn't you care about that? You're black, right? Yeah, I don't really do the sports games. Not really a fan since the streets, NBA Street, NFL Street, and Death Jam Vendetta, which surprisingly was supposed to be another wrestling street game, but became something better and became, you know, one of the most hailed Glory Day games that people miss. Death Jam 5 in New York. So, but back on topic, yeah, we got 2K21 revealed. That's gonna sell millions and millions of copies. And the only reason I don't fight against the stereotype joke is because it's hella true. I managed and worked at GameStop as part-time and as manager, and both times I was there during release of 2K, back to back, all throughout the week that it came out. It was like, yeah, I want to pick up that new 2K. Yeah, I want to get 2 copies of the new 2K. Yeah, I want to get the 2K Legendary Edition, and I want to get like $100 worth of VC. Like back to back. You people think that they don't, but they do. Okay, people go out and they drop easily $200 on this game. No time, no flex, no fuss, no muss. They will buy that shit, bro. That game been pay to win since they introduced the VC mechanic. And because it's for a casual audience, not a hardcore gaming audience, they fall for it every time. So in that aspect, I don't feel bad for y'all, but I am happy for y'all that y'all getting a new game every year. So give and take, monkey's paw, you know, be grateful that y'all getting yearly releases, because some of us been waiting 10 years for a sequel for some of our shit. So have your free to play basic MMO. Anywho, Bugsnax from the creators of Octodad was revealed. I guess you could say. Let's see what it turns out to be. It might be some good stream bait. It might be some good content for Twitch and whatnot, mixer. So we'll see what happens. All in all, everything revealed looked very interesting, and I am interested to see what goes forward. Now that we've seen the first party titles and the potential in it, I am very interested in finding out where we're gonna go with the third party and what they're gonna do with the PlayStation 5 and the overall console itself. My thoughts. I think it looks nice. They went the direction of a white primary color, then black secondary with blue highlight, and that is very cool actually. Because let's be honest, the roast that's going around about the PlayStation 5, let's be real, okay? They've been roasting every single game console ever came out, so this is part of the hazing phase for a new game console. You gotta let it happen. But also, there's no reason to be too touchy about it because, man, these consoles have been ugly for centuries. This is the most stylish console in a long time. These consoles have been ugly for centuries. All right, I might make a whole video about just that. Matter of fact, if you just look at it, okay, we hadn't had a stylish looking console since the original Xbox and the GameCube. Every other console was ugly as fuck, yo. Like, let's be real here. I won't go into detail because I'm gonna actually make that into some other content. So stay tuned and look for the uploads, and I'll let you know about that. Anywho, that's pretty much the news that I wanted to cover. There's no need to go into detail for anything extra because that's everything that's dominated all of the news. So we can drop it at that, and I actually hit an hour long right now on the recording, just talking about the 5 event. So I knew I weren't gonna have enough time, but anime fans, hold tight. All right, I got you. All right, so no worries. All in all, this has been another successful episode of the Slim Cogcast. We got a lot of things coming up that's gonna be great for you guys. I can't wait. I've been working at it, hoping for it, and trying not to worry about it. So prepare yourselves. I'm preparing myself, and always remember the channel motto is that intentions are the most important, actions ain't nothing but loud, and words don't mean a damn thing. Y'all take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Peace.
Dude, that Baptiste is so annoying. Okay. Bro, that kill feed has so much black on black crime on it, I can't even.
I got Echo.